We have a court order that will terminate 3,300 predatory contracts between realty company and Georgia homeowners. So the Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr said this week that a court order will prohibit MV Realty from enforcing its 40-year
40
listing.
years.
Yes, 40-year listing agreement. I'm like,
Dang.
goodness.
That's 39 years more than what I normally do.
I'm pretty sure it's 39 years more than what's legally allowed in the state of Georgia.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure I had a conversation with a broker not too long ago, and they're like, yeah, those listing agreements can't go longer than 1 year.
Oh, that's okay. That's a good way to put it. Then what's legal? You know, we gotta legally, yeah.
But I think this company probably thought that they were able to circumnavigate that because they're a Florida-based company. And so since that company's not based in Georgia, I don't know if they thought, oh, we don't have to play by the Georgia rules. It's like, well, the Attorney General thought different. And so basically what it was a MV Realty promoted what they call a deceptively branded program as a way to get cash without borrowing, essentially. So homeowners could, get cash out of their home, and in exchange for agreeing to, use the company's services in the future. But part of that agreement meant that the company also had the rights to list your property. So for those of you who don't know, generally when you go to list your property, you sign what's called a listing agreement with a real estate agent, such as Chili. And she can list your property, put up all the pretty pictures, write up a great sounding text about it so that people can have some great information about your property to help get it sold.
Mm-hmm.
And so those listing agreements, they can last for 6 months, 9 months. They can last for a year.
They can last for 30 days.
Exactly. They can last for 30 days.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But this company put in the fine print, which no one reads. Almost no one reads. Of course, there's always, a small handful of people that do. But they put in the fine print that they were locking people into a 40-year listing agreement. So anyone that sold that property other than MV Realty still got paid their 3% commission. So that's how listing agreements work. When you list your home with the real estate agent, they have the exclusive, if it's an exclusive listing agreement, they have the exclusive right to list and sell your property. And whenever your property sells, that agent who has the exclusive listing agreement earns the commission. MV Realty had it in there for them to have this exclusive 40-year agreement. So whenever your property sells at any point over the next 40 years, they earn a 3% commission. And so I thought that was unheard of, is a nice way of putting it.
So the listing agreement lasted longer than the average mortgage.
I didn't even think about it that way. But yeah, I didn't even think about it that way. But yes, the listing agreement lasted longer than what most people's mortgages are, because your average mortgage is 30 years. And
so what happens if the person was to pass? Is it like a reverse mortgage supercharge? Or we're just gonna get your home at that point because, if it sells.
Yes. Yeah, and they actually had something in here. I'm trying to see if I can find it where, oh yeah, here it is. So basically said that Carr's office said, basically the listing agreement that MV Realty was putting people in was a 40-year agreement that cost them 3% of the value of their home. And if they sold it through another firm, transferred it to another person, or if the home went into foreclosure before the end of the 40-year period. So yes, even if like the person passed away, and it went to a family member or whoever, at that moment, MV Realty got paid a 3% commission, which you can imagine what the appreciation would be the longer that this carries on, because homes on average appreciate over time. And so you got a home that maybe when you sign this contract with MV Realty might have been worth $300,000, and a decade later, maybe it's worth $400,000, or whatever. And now MV Realty is making an extra, $3,000 on that $100,000, or an extra $6,000 if it increased $200,000. You can do the math and just see how they're really getting over on people by sneaking this into the contract. But I, for one, was happy to see that there was at least some lawmaker. I don't even know if you call him a lawmaker, but I'd say public official who did something on behalf of the people, because I feel like so much stuff is done on behalf of that benefits the government, stuff that benefits, not the common, average, everyday, middle class American. And this was actually something I was like, okay, you know what? This actually benefits people, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, they really put the time value of money to work for them.
Yeah.
They said, it's that money is that 3% is going to be worth more to us later than it is now. So go ahead, just sign here on the dotted line. It's funny because as realtors, we have what's called a protected period.
Mm-hmm.
Most it's 90 days. Some will do 60 days. Some I've even seen do 120 days or 4 months, basically. If during the time that the buyer's agent and the buyer is working together, the buyer's agent shows a property to the buyer, and their relationship sours,
mm-hmm.
and the buyer decides to fire that buyer agent and get another buyer agent, and they want to go for that same house, then if you purchase this house within this protected period, you still owe the first agent a commission. So that kind of reminds me of kind of how they concocted, for lack of a better word, their contracts, how they, crafted their contracts. Like, if you list this with another person, you're still going to owe us. And then, of course, that seller is going to owe the agent that actually lists the property, because who's going to work for free? I don't care about no contract that you sign, But the thing is, most people, like you said, Frederick, do not read. And so finally, somebody read, and I think that's the reason for this whole lawsuit, is because somebody finally read. Mm-hmm. But what I find even more interesting is that, okay, they pass this whole scheme off as, we're giving you a small cash payment in exchange for agreeing to use our company's services in the future. The reason why this works so well is because I'm not sure if they did a credit check. I'm not sure if they really took in consideration the home's equity, like you would if you were to try to get a home equity line of credit or home equity loan,
mm-hmm.
like most people really should do if they're needing extra cash.
Yes.
So I can see the appeal in this. Really, I can. And I don't know if there was any interest or what the payments were, but I have an ex-client now. I have a couple of clients, actually. They would take out these cash advances drawn on the fact that they actually had equity in their home. And then that loan it's essentially a loan, because when you look in the public records, it's under mortgage history.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like a HUD. It's connected to the house, like a lien, I guess, is in other words.
It shows up on the credit report.
The credit report, but also like in the public records, there's sales history and there's mortgage history for every single parcel.
Mm-hmm.
It actually shows up under the mortgage history.
Okay.
So you may take out the initial $230,000 loan, but then if you get in trouble or you defer a payment,
mm-hmm.
some programs, like let's say you defer 3 payments and it's $5,600, they'll put that in the form of a loan and tack it onto the end of your mortgage along with interest.
Mm.
So a lot of people don't realize that they can do that, but and honestly, the interest that's charged is way more than what I feel is really fair.
Always is.
Interest and penalties, but I still feel like that's a better alternative. First of all, the first thing that's the best thing to do is a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit. But still, even getting the additional like little second mortgage or the loan where you're deferring your payments, which I never recommend anybody to do, but it's still better than signing a 40-year listing agreement.
Yeah. So I will say, one of the things that, again, with me just being glad that, they were doing something to look out for people, as part of the court order, MV Realty must dismiss all of its lawsuits pending against Georgia consumers. So apparently not only were they locking them into these 40-year listing agreements, they were also suing these people. As well.
If you would have heard the way your voice sounded when you said 40 years, I can't wait to hear that back. That is hilarious.
I mean, it's just like, wow, we're not only going to lock y'all into these agreements, which, by the way, some of them was going to be longer than what they were going to be alive, because more than 1,000 of these individuals were over the age of 60. So, yeah. Yeah, more than 1,000 of them over the age of 60. And it's like, oh, we going to be listing your home till you 100.
Help us, Lord. Lost your mind, can't think right, can't see, eyes done grown dim, great grandkids got a sign for you.
And
this is bad. But you know what crazy. This goes to show? It goes to show just how few people actually read. Yes. Ain't no way that somebody knowingly would have signed this if they would have known and see. And you know what? I bet they didn't have the number 40. I bet they had it spelled out.
Oh, probably
jumbled up with all the other words.
Because it doesn't stick out as much when you have 40 spelled out.
Boy.
But no, it says, yeah, they got to dismiss those lawsuits, and MV Realty must also pay restitution to Georgia consumers who paid an early termination fee on their agreement. So if you wanted to,
Jesus, see, God don't like ugly, and he ain't too fond of cute.
Nope. So I mean,
that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, end of the story, I guess you could say, bright day for Georgia residents who were, duped into signing these contracts. Even if they weren't duped into signing the contracts, the fact that you were signing such a ludicrous contract, that you now, don't have to worry about being held to this ridiculousness is, yeah, I think is a win all around. So
yes. Now, Attorney General Carr has set up an FAQ page for those of you who think that you may have been a victim of this scheme. Please visit consumer.georgia.gov/FAQ-MV-Realty-Customers-Georgia. Now, also, some of you all may not be computer savvy. If you do not receive a refund or relief from MV Realty, because they only gonna pay those who make a claim. They're not gonna come searching for you.
Oh yes.
You gotta go to them. Mm-hmm. Call the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 404. This is the residents of Georgia now. I don't know about nowhere else. 651-8600. That's 404-651-8600. Or just visit consumer.ga. That's God Answers. Oh, hallelujah. That's for GA. God Answers. Hallelujah. .gov. All right. Yeah.
Have you thought about reading for commercials? Seems like you got a knack for it a little bit,
I can't tell you how many people used to tell me I should be a news anchor when I was like in high school. I seriously considered it. In elementary school too. I used to get that all the time.
Like most people, sing in the shower. You read television scripts and commercials.
I want these people to get their justice. Yes, I do. I mean, this is wonderful, because can you think about how many of these schemes are going on all the time and people just don't get caught? Mm-hmm. So, I'm showing a lot of emotion and gusto, because I just love it when the little guy wins. I love it when justice is served, because these are things that I pray for, not knowing specifically where it's going to hit or who needs justice, but I'm always just praying like, Lord, let justice be served. Let people either get caught or turn themselves in. Like, I pray that kind of stuff all the time. So just to see this, that they're being made to do right. Oh, and what's the funny thing is, MV Realty has now filed for bankruptcy. Oh, you don't have any money.
Oh, did that happen?
You can't do people wrong now, huh? Yeah, I think that's in the lawsuit. That they have filed for bankruptcy. I think it's not in the lawsuit, but in the I saw that somewhere that they've now filed for bankruptcy.
Well, you know what? Part of the whole thing with the contracts was that they gave people money that they didn't have to return in exchange for them using their services in the future. But now it's like, oh, nah, you can't stick to those contracts. I'm like, so I'm assuming they don't get the money back that they gave to these people, and they got to pay restitution. It's like, yeah. But you know what? This is one of those things that just unfortunate side of being in a free enterprise.
Yes.
You know, where obviously we have some industries that are more heavily regulated than others. But part of just, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. Part of the cons of being in a free enterprise is you're going to have some people that look for opportunities to take advantage of others. This is one of those opportunities. But when you do have people who are in positions of authority that are able to step in and help out, you know, those who are being taken advantage of, then that's always a win. But not just the I would say not just the free enterprise, but also, I mean, I was gonna get into a whole nother thing. It's not really a whole nother thing, but because in my mind it's all connected. Like this whole, I'll just say the concept of free, because there's free enterprise, but then there's also free speech. I'm gonna chase this rabbit just a little bit.
Oh Lord.
So when we're talking about free speech, there are a lot of companies and corporations that will put out information that's maybe not exactly 100% true. Some of it is very deceptive. But since we have free speech, you can have companies that can promote completely inaccurate ideologies, and people that consume that stuff are believing that, oh, this is actually true. I mean, and I think in the age that we live in now, especially with AI, I find myself watching so much stuff now. Well, I try not to watch it as much, but when I do, a lot of the stuff that I do watch, it's like now I'm questioning everything. Is this real or is this AI? Because AI has gotten so good to the point to where it's hard to tell the difference between AI and real life and some of the AI generated content that's out there. And so, but getting back to the free speech is just one of those things where, I mean, I've heard individuals who promote people should live in apartments because it's a cheaper way to go. Now this, you know, you may be on one side of the fence or the other, but then these individuals also own, you know, thousands and tens of thousands of units of apartments. It's more of a self-serving thing. But if you want to, I mean, in every sector, if you want to get into the environment, you've got companies that benefit on doing business the way they've been doing it, which is not good for the environment, is not good for, you know, whatever the water that we drink, or, you know, they illegally dump their, you know, whatever it is, coal ash. I know that was a thing that was, and still is a thing that is, you know, a hot topic in certain areas. But companies who profit off of doing things that are destroying the earth or the environment or whatever will put out information to the contrary. Oh no, this stuff doesn't. The earth would be doing this regard, you know, all of this rhetoric, and people, you know, I just feel like, should there be a something that steps in and it's like, hey, you know what, you shouldn't. I don't know what the regulation would be, because where do you draw the line? Essentially, it's kind of like you're going to let everybody say whatever, or you draw the line somewhere. But then wherever you draw the line, there are going to be some people that are going to feel like, well, you're being, you know, discriminatory against this people group or this gender or these type of businesses or whatever. It gets into a whole nother issue when you start, you know, trying to draw a line. But then you also have issues when you allow people to just operate and say whatever they want to say, you know, without having any consequences. And this is just one of the cases.
Thing is no consequences. I don't think that there's a such thing as no consequences ever. There's consequences always.
there's consequence. I mean, there's slaps on the wrist, which is what I think most of them get, because so this one story with MV Realty is a win. I think there are so many other ones that never make it to see daylight. You know, they're continuing to operate in a scandalous way. So I just, it's like, I'll take the win, but then there's so many other people that it's like, matter of fact, heard a story recently. There was a lady who was, she was pregnant, gave birth. She needed to go see a OB to, you know, get her postnatal, you know, checkup and everything. And contracted a company, paid them money, you know, to do her testing, everything. Gets ready to go into the testing, you know, to make sure she's good to go and healthy and recovering well. Come to find out, the company is just completely operating fraudulently, like took her money, never did the appointment with her and everything. And, you know, she goes online, researches, you find some bad reviews about the company, you know.
After the fact.
After the fact. But it's like, nothing legal has happened to them because they're still out there operating, deceiving other people as well. So,
well, and I think so many times we let stuff slide, and this is why now I get bad service at a restaurant, I'm posting a review on Google, Yelp, and any other place that I can post a review. Like, I'm stopping letting stuff slide. Either that, or people don't feel like they don't have the time or the money to really pursue something. And so that's why you see these class action lawsuits, because while one person may not have the money, time, or resources, you get a pool of people, then it's easier to pursue it. But I think that's the issue, is that there's not only just one person or even just a few people that are getting done wrong. It's just that no one's actually standing up for themselves and taking a stand for justice, or they'll try to leave it in, well, I'll leave it in God's hands. They'll get there. Sometimes you're the vessel that God is going to use. You know, I would encourage people to, you know, don't be that doormat all your life. You know, a lot of times the reason why companies get away with it is because they're not being reported enough. There's, you know, everybody can't be wrong. One or two people say something, but, you know, when it's multiple people, that's what stops it. Like with, and I need to correct myself, something I said earlier. MV Realty did file for bankruptcy. This has been going on since like 2021. A lawyer in Florida is the first one that actually brought this to a court, you know. And MV Realty has been doing this obviously for a long time. And at that time, they filed for bankruptcy because they knew that they were wrong, as a way to try to get out of having to pay. Right? And then eventually they withdrew the bankruptcy, like last year. It was withdrawn. So I want to clarify what I said earlier. I want to correct what I said earlier. And now, you know, it was happening in Florida, it was happening in Georgia. It's a multi-state thing. They cannot run from it now because enough people said something. And I think, I mean, just like with anything, the reason why someone gets away with murder is just because there's not enough witnesses. There's only one or two witnesses. What if both witnesses are cowards or doormats and don't want to say anything, don't want to stir the boat? But in a pool of 10 people, you're going to have two go for brokers that are just going to be like, no, you're not doing this to me, because they've been through enough, or they were taught, no, you stand up for yourself, you speak out against what's wrong. And then that emboldens the rest of people. It's like, well, you know what, you're right. So some people are the leaders, like, yeah, we're going to go after this. And then other people have to be convinced by the leaders that, okay, we do need to pursue this. But I think that that's one reason why justice isn't served in a lot of cases, because people just don't speak up enough, and they don't pursue it because of lack of resources. Yeah. I think that's all it is.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. I know there's so many different reasons. It'd be hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
I know some people fear retaliation.
Yes.
And I completely understand that side of it because it's the whole in the your example about murderers getting away with murder. It's like, well, if I snitch, I'm gonna be next. Some people fear that whole snitches get stitches ideology. Some people fear retaliation. I'm thinking about when Me Too came out and that whole, everything that was coming out about, sexual assault that was happening
Disaster. Oh my
and it
God.
was happening with our elected officials
It had been happening under our noses this entire
the
time.
whole time.
Bill Cosby, not Bill Cosby.
But they were using they were using taxpayer dollars to essentially pay hush money to the women who were working on Capitol Hill who were getting sexually assaulted. It was like this, fund essentially of taxpayer dollars that were being used. When the taxpayers started calling for the names of all of these individuals who, were accused of sexual assault and had tapped into this hush money fund or whatever, they wouldn't release the names. And it's one of those things where it's like, that's convenient.
What I call selling your soul.
That's convenient. It's like we can't exactly just remove you from office. You got to serve out a term, but at the same point in time, you're like, oh, we did a bad thing, but we're not going to tell on ourselves. But let us do a bad thing. Our pictures plastered all over every screen and news articles writing about us and everything that they can to just paint us in a negative light. Like you did the bad thing, but they do a bad thing. They being elected officials sitting in Congress, do a bad thing. And it's like, oh, we're going to protect our own. We're not going to let the general public know who it was that was doing these things. So, I mean, I think, and if you're the one, let's just say, because if you notice, not only did they not say that they weren't going to come out and, not call names, the women who were sexually assaulted also did not come out and call names. Which leads me to think, oh, so you think there's going to be some sort of retribution, some sort of, repayment for, you coming out and telling on these sitting senators or sitting congressmen or whatever. Because that was another thing that I guess kind of just swept over a lot of people is like, yeah, we were all angry. Oh, Congress, they're not going to release the names. It's like, yeah, but guess who else knows the names? The people that were assaulted. And those people could have came forward and said, such and such assaulted me, and this person assaulted me, and they could have joined together, but that didn't happen. And so it is, I don't know. It was.
There's strength in numbers. I'm telling you.
There is.
There's weakness when it's just one or two. But even the Bible says, let everything be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you really need is, now that 3 is the magic number. 2 people, y'all could just be a little, anomaly. We don't really. Once it's 3 people saying the same thing, you got to listen. You got to listen at that. It's just like when people are telling you about yourself. If one person says you're arrogant and you feel like you're confident and you've never heard that anywhere else, then you can safely assume that person is just hating. Maybe they're jealous.
Mm-hmm.
But if 3 people say the same thing, maybe one said it in a laughing manner and the other one was serious and the other one said it in passing. At this point, that's God trying to get your attention. He's trying to tell you something. There's some truth to this because everybody's not going to lie. One person may lie. 2 people maybe, but 3 people are definitely not going to lie. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, free speech or no free speech, why don't we use our free speech to actually tell the truth about what's going on? I'm not saying that this is going to change anything because obviously things have been this way forever. And I'm, really not sure if our podcast is going to reach, who needs to hear this. But it just feels good to even discuss it because I know somebody somewhere is going to see this at some point in time. And it will hopefully affect how they move about in life, because I truly believe you reap what you sow 100% of the time. It does not matter. Yes, this is a biblical principle, but it is also a spiritual principle. And spiritual principles do not they do not rely on religion. They do not rely on a person's belief system, whether they believe it or not, to make it true. It doesn't need anyone to believe in it to make it true. It stands in and of itself. That's a spiritual principle. What you put out, you will get back. You cannot sow orange seeds into the earth and it produce an apple tree.
It's an earthly principle too.
Yes,
it's an earthly principle too. It's like you
so
reap
it's
what you
undeniable.
sow. Yeah.
And so that's why I believe that justice is always served at some point. You know, I looked at Bill Cosby and I'm like, wow, he had a great career. And then at the end of his life, you know, basically when he can't hurt nobody no more, he's blind. And they go and put this man in a maximum security prison. But the truth of the matter is, if he did it, he's got to have to pay. When he would really rather be sitting around eating Jell-O for real, he's, you know, restricted to you know, someone having to lead him around, and he has no freedom. So at some point, whether when you're young or when you're old, I believe before you leave this earth, really you should want to pay for your sins and the things and the wrongs that you've done and try to make restitution before you leave this earth. Because if you don't and you die in that, whatever you believe about the afterlife, you're going to reap and sow there just as well. So use your time to get it right. Use your time here to right your wrongs. You know, MV Realty probably really, really hates the fact that they're being, you know, someone had a bright idea one day, you know, 40-year listing agreement, you know, and they knew it was wrong. And really, the 40-year listing agreement isn't what's so bad. It's how many people didn't realize it. I can understand if you get me to agree, then I'm the dummy. But if you feel like you have to use deception and you don't, you know, if reasonably, if you can sit there and think reasonably, like, would I agree to a 40-year listing agreement? Then maybe I should plainly put this. Then they would have had a leg to stand on. But you know that they didn't, because they had way too many people, over 3,300 or 3,000 people. They had way too many people say yes. And I'm sorry, but yes, that many people probably don't read, but that many people are not dumb. That many people would never have agreed to that. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no.
So
you catch people when they're vulnerable, and you bait them in, because again, they had people that they gave loans to without having to give a loan. Essentially, you give them money that they don't have to pay back in exchange for, we get a 40-year listing agreement on your home. And you know that, yeah, you catch people at a
desperation.
Exactly. People are vulnerable. People are willing to do some stuff that they would not otherwise do. And then you don't plainly put it in a contract, so that it's even easier for you to get over on people. But yeah,
and I want to talk for a second just for the people who feel like, well, I'm reaping bad and I only sowed good. Sometimes what looks to be that you're reaping bad when you know that you haven't done wrong is a test. Everything that you're reaping, that if it seems negative, it's either because you sowed a negative seed or you're being tested. I don't believe that there's any in between. And so you have to show yourself faithful through that test in order to see what's on the other side of it. But these are spiritual laws, like Frederick said, earthly principles, and they 100% without fail turn out how they're supposed to every time.
Oh, absolutely. You reap what you sow, and there is one way that you can avoid reaping everything that you have sown. And that's if you come to the Lord.
Repent, honey.
You get forgiven, because there is one who can forgive you of a multitude of you sowing bad seed and just put you on a straight and narrow.
He protects you and he redeems you from all those horrible consequences
and then
that we deserve.
And then when that happens, you don't want to do the bad anymore. You only want to do the good. So now you're out there, you know, let me sow a lot of good seed. Let me point people in this direction that's much better than what I was feeding people earlier. So But yeah, if you just stay going down the bad path, then whether in this life or the next, it's not going to be good if you don't turn that life around. And so you got a limited amount of time, we all do, to get it turned around while we're here, rather than pushing an agenda and everything that's not going to reap any eternal reward.
Yeah. I'm sad that these people had to be caught and told by a judge to do what was right. It would have been better, and they could have avoided a lot of penalties and all of that had they just righted their own wrongs and not been waited to have been taken to court. But this all started out as a bright idea in someone's head, and it was predatory, and look how it ended up. It would never been predatory if they would have just been upfront with people. But when you know that by being upfront with people probably won't join in, then that actually just shows the condition of your heart, and you need help. You need therapy, counseling, and deliverance. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, win for the little guy on this one. So
Yeah.
hopefully more to come. Speak out. If you see something, say something.
Yes.
Don't just let stuff go by. There was a lady who literally a few days ago stabbed to death on a subway in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
And in watching the video, everyone kind of just sat there
Sitting around.
and watched this thing happen, and they were just like,
Ain't nobody gonna try to stop him?
no one. I mean, this guy's just walking up and down the subway, blood dripping from his, hands and everything. He just stabbed this lady to death, and it's like, and I'm just looking at everyone who's just looking at this guy, and no one did anything to protect her. I mean, after she, fell over and she's just lying out, lifeless, essentially, I guess passed out from the loss of blood and everything. Then you have a couple people that come over to check on her. But it's like in the moment when it happened, even after it happened, everybody's just kind of sitting there and looking around. I'm like, we need more people to step up and take action. You see something happening. If you're a part of something happening and you feel on the inside of you, there's something wrong about this. Something is not sitting right with my spirit about this whole thing. I need to say something about it. Don't be afraid of this whole retaliation of whatever else, because it is a much worse thing for you to keep silent, allow other people to continue to be harmed, and, allow evil to continue on, rather than to be the one, bright light that stands up and says, no, I'm speaking out against this. This is not going to continue to happen. And shedding light on it. And who knows the change that can be brought in the lives that can be saved and changed, because you're the one person who decided, I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna, do things differently. So
Yeah.
use your free speech for good. Don't just stay silent and let all the people who are using their free speech for negative continue to perpetuate all the negativity and all the evil they're putting out there. Use your free speech to put, truth out there and to expose some of the lies. So
It's called empathy.
yeah.
It's called do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
That's it.
So with that, make sure you tune in on Fridays when we're dropping a new episode of Greatest Asset Community Podcast. And make sure you tune in on Tuesdays when I'm going live for Home Finance Hacks, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube. So till next time, take care, be blessed. We'll see you next week.
Doodles.